We still have echo. Not here? No? Okay. Sorry, folks. Adoption of the agenda, that the agenda for June 29th, 2022, regular meeting of the Municipal Service Committee be adopted as presented.
I'll
Second.
move adoption. Director Moglove.
Second.
I'm sorry, second was whom?
Ron Kerr.
Thank you. Discussion? Opposed? All in favor? Hearing, oh, we can't do that way because I can't see you all.
Just call for the opposed.
It's moved, just call for the opposed. Petition and delegations, there are none. Adoption of previous meeting, that the
Move
minutes.
adoption of previous meeting minutes, Evans.
Thank you, second.
Moglove.
Second. Kerr.
Thank you. Discussion? Opposed? Hearing none, carried. Business arising from minutes. There is none, correct?
That's what we're aware of.
None that we're aware of. Public considerations. None. Chair's report. None. This could be a very quick meeting. Staff report. There we go. So the municipal projects feasibility study updates. And that goes to the CAO.
Call for vote on receipt.
I have to call for a vote on receipt. Second? Perfect.
Second. Kerr.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll speak to it if I can.
Please.
So, this is our last municipal services meeting before the election, I believe, so I thought it might be an appropriate time to bring up for discussion purposes update on some of the projects that are affecting municipal services. So we've got three underway or just beginning right now. We've got the Regional Fire Services Administration looking at some economies of scale, if anything, that we can bring to the fire services within the regional district and all the municipalities. We have regional recreation similar to that. You know, we don't really have a defined scope. We're meeting with all the municipalities collectively to see what's on their radar and what kind of synergies and efficiencies they can create. We obviously have a number of different issues in the different municipalities, from, you know, Campbell River to Sayward to Gold River. So looking at what, if anything, we can pull together to create some synergies and efficiencies within the service. And at the same time, we've also got the West Coast Communities Transportation Study we're looking at in conjunction with Mount Waddington to, again, there's some significant transportation issues that have been created as a result of a number of services being eliminated, and we want to pull together Mount Waddington, ourselves, and look at all of our West Coast communities and see if we can bring something that would address regional transportation. So just a quick update on the status of those, where we are, and happy to answer any questions and discussion on them.
Thank you, CAO. Anyone have any questions for the CAO?
I have a question about the transportation study. Just what sort of is the timeline or where we're at now with it? Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, a timeline looks that we're looking in the fall, you know, maybe November 2022, that we'd have something preliminary pulled together. Maybe longer than that, unlikely shorter, but it's complicated because there's obviously no private, private sector service that can make this happen or make it economical. So everyone has a number of different challenges in our territory here. So we're hoping that the late fall, I'd say, of 2022, does that sound reasonable, Tom? That we'll hope to have a draft in front of the board.
Thank you. I'm sorry? And the CO is going to add to that.
Thank you, Mr. I was just going to mention that we have just recently started the engagement strategy with the consultant who's been retained for this project. And pretty much every community has a representative as part of that engagement process. So it will be customized per community, and it will take some time to do. So that is why you're looking at potentially a fall delivery back to the board of some preliminary conclusions. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of that process. Thank you.
Thank you. So that the report from the CAO be received?
Question?
Oh, sorry. Director Unger?
Thank you, Chair. I'm really excited about the transportation one, obviously, for, from basically Tassus and just Sakana, Gold River, and the other side of the island also. So I know the community's excited about seeing the report come back in the fall. The regional fire service, I know when we talked about it, looking at education, equipment procurement, that kind of stuff. What about even support as far as, our chiefs, our deputy chiefs, and stuff like that are actually, appointments in the community of support there? Is there gonna be something in that?
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, yes, I mean, what we're kind of looking at as a template is that we have the Campbell River Fire Service, which, call a gold standard here in Campbell River, and we have a number of volunteers, municipal services, and beyond, we had some discussion at the board. Certainly, Campbell River Fire Department isn't going to go put out a fire in Sayward or Gold River, but there's many other aspects of providing a fire service other than, holding a hose and putting out the fire. So we're going to look from everything from tip to tail, other than, again, Campbell River, running out to Sayward and putting out a fire. That logistically obviously can't happen. So there's a lot of different needs amongst the different fire halls, municipally, regionally, and see what we can pull together, as well as providing, hopefully we can look at something that also has a benefit to Campbell River as well, spreading out the cost for training, administration, procurement. We're confident there's something that we can bring a benefit to everybody.
Thank you. Directors, anybody else have any comments or questions? No? So we'll move and recede. Sorry, all in favor?
I think we did already, but
Sorry, we did that already? Opposed,
Think so.
sorry. Hearing none, carried. Second staff report is the municipal participation in regional district land use planning, CAO. Oh, sorry, move to receive. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Evans?
I think Tom will speak to this, and then I'll follow up after Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this report basically is an update to the board following to the committee from an earlier recommendation that we look into the possible municipal participation in regional district land use planning. So what this report tries to do is to distinguish the various types of planning, if you will, functions that exist, and what might or might not make sense for municipalities to consider. There is electoral area planning, which you see pretty much at every board meeting, where the 4 electoral areas talk about zonings and permits and things like that. And then we have, on top of that, we have a Part 13 planning, which is basically regional approach. And the report is suggesting that if the committee does have an interest in pursuing this further, that maybe you might want to look at the regional aspects and how that could be used to satisfy municipal issues that arise at a regional level. So that's the nature of the report. Thank you.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, just to add a bit of an editorial to follow up on that. So we know we've had, I think the impetus of this report is we've had a number of discussions at the board over land use and its limited voting, if you will, at the board by the participants, which are the electoral area services. So there's 2 ways that the board can, I think, more participate in the services. One, buy into it. That's an easy one. Any local government municipality can buy into the service and vote and participate in that. But in the planning service, there's another option that I personally think is a bit unique here, is that we don't have a regional growth management plan in this regional district. I would be surprised if I looked at the 27 other regional districts that they didn't have a regional growth management plan. I think that's unique to here. And what having that would do would allow more participation, I think, by the municipalities without buying into the service to have a higher level of participation, whereas a regional growth plan would look at housing, transportation, regional services, economic development, tourism, and establish a high-level template that local area plans must follow. So I think it might be something for the board to consider if they want to be active or more active in planning, that a way through that at a more cost-effective way would be to look at participating in a regional growth management plan.
Thank you. Director Adams? You're muted. You're really muted.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Leach. This is an odd one in that you're right, the electoral area land use planning motions and bylaws come to the regular board meeting where our only participation is to vote on receipt, but not on first, second, or third, or approval. So either we get involved in the land use planning or we don't. And if we don't, could I ask that this be moved onto consent agendas for the SRD? Because if it's already been vetted through the electoral services area and we don't have any say in it, then it has already been approved, and just putting it on consent may expedite the larger regional district board meeting and not waste everybody's time.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think there's a couple issues there. One is if it's a matter of time or discussion. I know often we've had discussion on issues that may or may not at times sway the vote or change the vote in the electoral area. So I personally think there's some value there. Again, it's why I put discussion on there about the potential of a regional growth management plan, in that local area plans must align with regional growth management plans. So it would bring some substance to discussion and synergies or alignment with local area plans that would involve the board in how matters of land use planning are affected and the input that the regional board has put into it. So an option there for you. Yes, I mean, I suppose you could put it on a consent agenda. However, that would eliminate any discussion that members of the board might want to have on issues, even if they don't vote.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Don't disagree with that, but I think if it's the status quo, it's pretty much a moot point as to whether we provide any input or not when we don't have any say in the outcome. So that's my point, is that are we just wasting everybody's time if there is little impact that can be made? Thanks for entertaining the discussion.
Do we have any idea what it would cost the individual municipalities? Okay, sorry, Director Unger?
So I agree with what Director Adams is saying. We don't want to waste any staff time, if we're just spinning wheels. But I'd be interested to know so I'm clear, the regional growth management plan, if the board moves in that direction, then all planning functions right now through the areas would have to be, what's the word, consented by the growth plan?
Sorry?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Local area plans through the Local Government Act would be required to align with those. So again, think of it as at a 50,000 foot level, you've got a regional growth management plan, and there would have to be alignment in the local area plans. So that's where you're going to have the board's input and influence on land use decisions. So hopefully that answers your question.
Director Mulgrove.
Yeah, thanks. I like the idea of moving in the direction of a regional growth management plan, but, I really don't,
I'm sorry.
my understanding or my reading of,
We
What?
keep losing your
Hello?
audio.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm saying I like the idea of moving towards the regional growth management plan, but don't really have enough information on costs, et cetera. But I think if I'm reading, option C is basically moving the concept of moving into a regional growth management plan to the next financial plan, and then we'd have more information about what it would entail and what the cost might be. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, I think there's been some frustration. I think that would be a reasonable word to use on from the non-electoral area directors in some of the procedures and or processes and or decisions on land use planning in the last few years. On the other hand, getting involved in land use planning, as most of us well know, would be extremely expensive for municipalities. And I just think it's probably a non-starter at this point. But having an overall sort of concept for the region, I think that is something that we should be definitely looking at. Thank you.
Director Evans.
Yes, thank you. I had similar comments just when I heard Mr. Leach talk about the fact that 27 out of the 27 regional districts or 27 that had a regional growth management plan, most of them would. It really made me wonder as well what those might look like, what the process was, kind of cost. Is there policy that is driving those decisions? So very similar to Director Moglove. I think having a discussion around it just to gather more information, have better understanding of what's involved. I don't disagree with the fact that it most likely would be extremely costly for the municipalities to be involved, but still, I think to have the information would be worthwhile. Thank you.
Hey, directors, did you want to take a vote and see if we're going to do A, B, or C? On receipt?
I think I'm not sure we've voted on receipt yet. Then
No,
I'll have
we
a
have not.
subsequent.
We
Okay.
have not. I'm just moving along real quick. Try to stay with
No
me
worries.
here.
No worries.
Okay, do we have a motion on receipt, please? We had the motion.
Move receipt,
Second?
Evans.
We'll do it again. Second?
Okay.
Discussion? Opposed? Hearing none?
And
Director
I'll
Unger?
move option C, that the board can include for discussion in the 2023 financial and strategic initiative planning, the development of a regional growth management plan.
Second, Evans.
Further discussion? Opposed? Hearing none? Carried. Okay, J, bylaws. None. We have nothing other than termination. And I was just getting the hang of it. Second? Do we have
I'll
a second
second
for
it, Mo.
termination? Thank you. Discussion? Anyone opposed? Carried. We are terminated. Thank you very much, everybody.